Okay, this is my review of my first week of gamifying my classroom. I am recording this at 5 o'clock on Friday, so I just got home from school. Yeah, I stayed at school really late, even on a Friday. Um, though I'm pretty sure there was a point at which I just sat in my chair and stared at the wall. So you can't necessarily, I wasn't necessarily working late. um, and now I'm home and I have my glass of sparkling cider so I can relax. Um, my first week went pretty well. So some background on my classes. I have three ESL English classes this year. I have one class that is low proficiency, one class that is high proficiency, and one class that is mixed proficiency. These three classes are all about 9 to 12 students right now. That is likely to change. I also have an English language development class. This is not an English class, as in like studying, like reading and writing and literary analysis and all that. Um, it's it is an English class in the sense that it is supposed to help students continue to develop their English skills in reading and writing and all of that. That class has 30 students. Actually, I think we're down to about 28 now. So as a result, my classes, the way that I am using the game in my classes is a little bit different class to class. So my two ESL English classes that are more homogenous, so my low proficiency class and my high proficiency class, those two classes are functioning a lot like a normal sort of ELA class. I mean, yes, I have ESL and ELA mixed into one class. We're covering both areas of content, but it's it's they both move along in a similar fashion. We will cover some things as a whole class, and then students have the ability to practice content either individually or in small groups. And the way that I'm using my game in that class is that when we are working on things whole group, for the most part, students will be, during those times, students will be battling monsters, and instead of using dice as ability checks, we're going to be using class content. So instead of you want to attack the monster, roll the dice to see if you succeed, it's answer this question. And if you answer it correctly, you succeed. And if you don't, then you try again when your turn comes back around. And so it's a very simple system and it works well. And the battle idea, I think, gets kids a little more into like, oh, we're gonna practice with flashcards now. um, Also, when they are working independently or in groups, they will have uh, assignments that connect to the storyline, often with branching paths. So, one of the examples that I gave in a previous post was you see two students arguing in the hallway. Which one do you go to talk to? And those two decisions will lead to different assignments that cover the same content but do so in different ways. And then, furthermore, once the students complete those assignments, they will be given different information. And so they have some autonomy to choose here, but I'm hoping that this will also lead to them discussing, oh, wait, like somebody needs to go talk to that student who's willing to do the other assignment and find out this other piece of information, because we need that to solve the mystery, because they are working together supposedly. We'll get to that in a minute. My mixed proficiency class, because of the mixed proficiency, I'm going to be using a station rotation model. And so each uh, I I have three groups of students, and each group came up with a name for themselves and a storyline about how their characters are connected. And the way that is going to start is and starting on Monday, we will have days where we have station rotations. One of the stations is working with me, where we are working directly on content such as reading or vocabulary or whatever it is that they need to work on that they really struggle to do independently. Then they will have a station where they are working on our class website, on assignments that are directly connected to things that we have already covered, that they have already covered with me. And the third station will be a station where they have in an activity that is based on where they are moving on our game map. So at the end of each day, the students, the groups will get to decide, okay, where do we want to go next on the map? And that where they go on the map will determine which activity they're doing at that station the next day, as well as what information they get when they complete the activity. My class of 30 is very similar, except without the rotation aspect. So this class is a little bit more hands-off. It's a little less, okay, we're gonna do this very specific assignment and da 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 da. It's more of an exploration into different things and just practicing various skills that students need, whether that be reading comprehension or telling time or counting money. And yes, I have students in high school who have trouble with things like telling time and counting money because we don't use analog clocks and paper and metal money nearly as much as we did when I was in high school. So whatever skills they feel like they need to learn, I'm going to try and incorporate those in. But very similar to my sixth period, each group will have the ability to choose where they want to go on the map. And based on that decision, they will have a different activity to complete. And that activity will unlock different information for them. And I will be leading them somewhat with PowerPoint presentations. I'll have a scenario like, oh, there's commotion outside room 305. What are you going to do? And so that means that students can know, okay, something's going on here. So they can choose to go, okay, I want to know what's going on and investigate it and go to that room. Or they can say, nah, I don't really want to go there. Let's go to the kitchen. And then they can unlock whatever's in that room as well. So uh, my my first couple of days, my students spent filling out character sheets and putting together their groups in those classes that have groups, because in my first period, it's the same. I have 5 groups of up to 6 students, and they got to choose their own group name, and they got to decide how it is that their characters know each other. And this class, especially because this is my highest proficiency class, was really fun to work with. My first day was, they were all a little like off balance. Wait, what are you talking about? What is this game? I'm kind of what? But my second day, when they were creating their groups, they started to get more into it, and I got some very creative answers. And then today, we did a group activity where they looked through the student handbook for questions that I feel are pertinent to what they're going to be what they're going to need to know this year in high school. And it's the handbook is always something that's very boring but important, and I feel like they enjoyed this. They seemed to enjoy this activity, and they had a lot of fun when I presented them with scenario at the end of the day and said, okay, you have to decide where you're going to go, because this is going to affect what we're going to do in this class on Monday. They had a lot of fun debating with their group mates, like, oh, well, should we go investigate in room 305 or should we do something else? And I got a variety of answers, which I'm very excited about. Um, Then in my other classes, we started very similar. We designed our characters on the first day, and in my sixth period where we have groups, we design they had the chance to design their groups, and then we had a little bit of practice with battle mechanics. Just to kind of give them a flavor. My first period, because it's such a big class, is not going to be battling as much as my other classes. Um, and so we didn't do that in my first period, but in my other classes there will be times where it's, oh, here's the bad guy and he's attacking you and what are you going to do? And I just wanted to give them kind of a feel for what it's like to play an RPG, because most of these students have never done this before. And so aside from my class last year, and so today we didn't incorporate that content aspect yet. We just used dice rolls, and it was a 50-50 chance. uh Everybody's got a d4 right now, and so if it's 1 or 2 you fail, if it's 3 or 4 you succeed. um Unfortunately, we had some weird things happen. So the scenario in these classes was that the students were in the library and suddenly they are attacked by this very tall, thin, pale figure supposed to invoke a sort of ghost-like persona. Um, Instead of attacking the monster, my students in these classes all decided to attack each other instead. And so we get to the end of class, and I look at my stats, and I'm like, well, great, the monster's still at full health, and half of you guys are dead. Well, not dead, but knocked out, and certainly be waking up in the infirmary. So I guess I've had some interesting surprises, but I'm still very enthusiastic. I'm still very excited about doing my game, and certainly my students were having fun, which is the most important part. And if they all end up attacking each other, well, that's RPGs are about collaborative storytelling, so it just means that we're going to end up with a very different story, and I'm really okay with that. So yeah, uh, taking my students taking me places that I didn't expect, but certainly using their imaginations and to some degree cooperating. So very excited. I'm looking forward to Monday. So I'd say happy weekend, but I will probably be posting this on a Monday. So happy week, and I will see you in another week.